What is up again, YouTube? Hey, what's up again, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of Black Mirror. I am your host, Black Mirror. Trying to give y'all a little bit perspective on what's going on today. Man, we got a good show for you this morning. Um, so for those of you who haven't heard this, and I gotta admit, it was my first time hearing about this morning. When I woke up this morning, I was ashamed to say that I had not heard about this Cuba Gooding Jr. scandal. This groping scandal. For those of you who don't know, apparently over the weekend on Sunday, Cuba Gooding Jr. was with his wife or girlfriend. I'm not clear on the details of that just yet. At a bar, club. I will show you the video in a minute of what just happened, but Cuba has been accused of allegedly groping a young lady at the bar there. Don't know how true this is. We're going to watch the video right now and find out. And then I've actually got some more footage I've compiled here of basically Cuba Gooding Jr. being a lush. Like, this is something that has been known for a while now. Cuba Gooding Jr. is an alcoholic. He is a drunk. I mean, big time, very much so. And I won't even say that, but I know that he has a good time when he goes out and starts drinking. I remember Cuba Gooding Jr. being one of the most respected actors of a generation at one point. I remember going to see Men of Honor. It's actually the first time I smoked weed. We smoked two little pen blunts and went to go see Men of Honor. Bad idea, very bad idea, for it to be your first time smoking weed and to go watch a boring ass 2.5 hour movie like Men of Honor. I fell asleep about halfway through it. Watched it again as an adult and was like, wow, Cuba Gooding Jr. is a great actor. He was a great actor on the O.J. trials. He was a great actor on the Roanoke thing on American Horror Story. He's a great actor on just pretty much anything he plays on. He is a great actor. But we do know also that Cuba has got some issues with alcoholism. Let's go ahead and play this video, and then we'll play another one in a minute here. This one's only 2 minutes and 42 seconds long, and it's explaining basically what happened this Sunday at the bar.
Now we're going to turn to the latest on actor Cuba Gooding Jr., who's facing charges this morning, accused of groping a woman in a New York bar. We're now seeing new surveillance video from that night. ABC's Paula Ferris is here with more. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning, Michael. It happened Sunday night at a New York City bar. Gooding's lawyer claims that this woman pursued, stalked, and then invaded his personal space at the club. As for Gooding, he's turned himself in, saying that he trusts the system.
He's the Oscar-winning actor known for his roles in Jerry Maguire and The People versus O.J. Simpson.
Everybody thinks I'm guilty.
But this morning, Cuba Gooding Jr. finding himself in a very different role, turning himself into police on Thursday after a 29-year-old woman accused him of groping her at a bar over the weekend. TMZ obtained this surveillance video allegedly showing the accuser sitting down next to Gooding and his girlfriend, Claudine De Niro. The video appears to show Gooding putting his hand on her thigh.
Now, it ain't no appear to be. Cuba Good put his hand on her thigh. The girl walked up. Let me go back here a little bit. The girl walked up. It seemed like a familiar thing that was going on, because the girl walked up and Cuba immediately went to grab her thigh.
And his girlfriend, Claudine De Niro.
Right here.
The video appears to show Gooding.
He grabs the thigh. He's talking to his girlfriend. He's probably saying something along the lines of, yeah, we need to have us a threesome tonight, man. You see her? And she just walking up on us like this? Shit, let's make it happen. That's what he's telling his girlfriend, Sarah. His girlfriend's name is Sarah Kafer. This is her. Right here. So he's telling Sarah, so he's looking at Sarah saying to himself, hey, we can make something happen tonight. What you think? You know what I mean? Let's keep on with the video.
Putting his hand on her thigh. A few seconds later, his hand appearing to move up towards her breast. Gooding is then...
It didn't appear to move up toward her breast. He touched them breast. I mean, look at this. He touched them breasts. He just caressed them a nipple For
towards
real.
her breast. Gooding is then seen, his hand appearing to hand on her thigh. A few seconds later, his hand appearing to move up towards her
Yeah,
breast.
you can see
Gooding
his
is then seen pulling her hands to his
you can see his thumb and his forefinger pinch her nipple. Yeah, it's pretty interesting that. Like I said, this seems like somebody that's familiar with them. I wouldn't be surprised if this is somebody that is inside their circle who they've had fun, quote unquote, fun with before. For her to, I don't know. Or maybe Cuba Gooding Jr. is just a creep. Maybe he's just an alcoholic creep. I don't know.
lips. Their hands appear to be touching, and that's when another man walks over and speaks to the group. And about
And see, that's what was interesting as well. That's what was very interesting as well. Once he gets done, he plays with the girl's nipple. He pulls her hand close to him and starts to kiss it. Like you can see him clearly playing with the girl's nipple. And then he pulls the girl's hand close to him and he kisses her hand. Now another gentleman gets up and walks out of nowhere. When I first saw the video, I'm like, where the fuck did he come from? But I notice now he's sitting there on the other side. He's watching all this happen. I wonder what was said or what he heard to make him get up and feel like there was some sort of threat to where he need to go and handle Cuba Gooding Jr. Let's continue the video.
breast, Gooding is then seen pulling her hands to his lips. Their hands appear to be touching, and that's when another man walks over and speaks to the group.
Was that the boyfriend? Was that like the mad boyfriend? Like what the fuck? He didn't grab the thigh. He didn't kiss. He didn't pull the nipple. Now he kissing the hand, and she ain't moved. Like she's still like leaning in close. Body language, says a lot. I'm not a body language expert, but as you can see, the lady is clearly leaning into this couple. The lady is clearly leaning into whatever it is the Cuba Gooding Jr. has got going on here. She didn't protest this at all, body language wise, until this gentleman showed up. Let's go back a little bit more, and just to see if I'm, just to see, I might be wrong about this. I may be wrong. Cuba Gooding may just be a creepy creep. But let's go back to the moment she sat down here.
At a bar over the weekend, TMZ obtained the surveillance video allegedly showing the accuser sitting down next to Gooding and his girlfriend, Claudine De Niro.
She immediately leans in, a friendly type of a posture there, friendly, a very open posture. It's not overtly sexual. I'm not seeing a sexual posture coming out of her at all, actually.
The video appears to
It gets sexual when Cuba reaches over. He is definitely taking on a sexually aggressive posture. You can tell by the tenseness in his shoulders. You can tell by the rigidness in his arms, the hand on the knee, the legs not crossed but straight out in front of him. This is a very aggressive, manly posture. He's saying, hey, I want this, whatever I have my hand on here. And she is not in a nervous, defensive posture at all. She's more on alert. She's more, very alert of what's going on, but she's not defensive in any way that I can tell. Let's continue.
show Gooding putting his hand.
She actually seems to lean in more. She actually seems to become more comfortable, if you notice, with the touching as the touching continues. He seems to relax more. He leans his head to the side as if to say, hey, relax. And she seems to be, doing his bidding. As she seems to relax more, she seems to come closer into the fray of him and his girlfriend, Sarah. Let's continue.
On her thigh. A few seconds later, his hand appearing to move up towards her breast.
Now, this is when her posture definitely takes on a more defensive. You can see her visibly go back. You can see her visibly, something wasn't right. It wasn't very noticeable, but I mean, if you're really watching this,
Later, his hand appearing to move up.
you can see very slightly, and I paused it right there, very slightly, her body moves back as if to say, I'm not comfortable with that. You can see his hand on the nipple. You can see, and actually, if I were to freeze it there, you can see his hand, his thumb and forefinger actually close over the nipple. Maybe she was shocked by that. Maybe that's the reason for the sudden jerk backward. She still doesn't seem very, offended. I would say that she is still on alert. Still got her hand very close to her purse. She's still got, and now she even has her left hand grasping his right hand. So she seems to say stop at this point. Not physically, maybe, but mentally, emotionally, she's saying stop at this point. Let's continue.
Up towards her breast. Gooding is then seen.
I think that's when he catches the cue. That's when he finds the cue. Yeah, this is not going the way I want it to go. This little flirt is not happening the way I want it to. And so he tries to, I guess, save face by grabbing the hand and saying, "Oh, well, let me kiss her hand."
Pulling her hands to his lips. Their hands.
And then here comes, boyfriend, concerned citizen, Dudley Do Right, whoever this fucking guy is. Here he comes to save the day, hands in pocket, looking away, acting as if he has nothing to do with the situation. And then all of a sudden,
appear
it's
to be
all over
touching,
them.
and that's when another man walks over and speaks to the group. And about
He had to go collect her away. He had to go collect her away from that situation. Maybe he saw something, nonverbal signs that I was not able to pick up on there. Maybe she was way more uncomfortable. This is very grainy footage. But it's not looking good for Cuba right now. You know what I mean? Not looking good at all. Let's go down to some more footage here. Now, this is the ending of that footage.
30 minutes later, this TMZ video shows Gooding and his girlfriend downstairs at the bar when the accuser.
Now, this is what was really weird to me as well. Now, Cuba Gooding Jr. and his girlfriend have fled this situation. They're not dealing with this anymore. They're downstairs at the bar. They're having drinks. They're having a good time. This woman comes back up to them. Let's see what happens here.
And speaks to the group. And about 30 minutes later, this TMZ video shows Gooding and his girlfriend downstairs at the bar when the accuser approaches a man near the couple. The actor then stumbles over those.
Now, Cuba was drunk, and he usually is. What happened here? This man, this security guard, I guess, this, whoever this may be, I'm guessing this is security. They're in VIP. This is Cuba Gooding Jr. There's a man hovering over him and his wife at a bar. I'm guessing this is security. So this woman comes up to this young man and says something so incensing that it makes Cuba Gooding jump up out of his chair, fall over, and he gets the fuck out of there. What is going on? What did she just say?
When the accuser approaches a man near the couple, the actor then stumbles over those two before quickly leaving. Gooding pleading not guilty in a Manhattan court to a misdemeanor charge of forcible touching and third-degree sex abuse. Overnight, Gooding's attorney speaking exclusively to ABC News.
When I viewed the video and spoke to actual eyewitnesses, it was very clear and apparent that the lady who made these false charges was stalking Mr. Gooding. This lady continued to invade his private space until ultimately somebody, not Cuba, but somebody else, had to tell her to please excuse herself.
Now, Gooding's lawyer says that these charges carry up to a year.
Now, is that really what happened? Is this woman stalking Cuba Gooding Jr. and now want to call, sexual abuse or a forcible touching when she's been, invading his space? Once she goes into his space and allows herself into his space, maybe in his space, touching is a good thing. I want to go to some other videos here because we think we know Cuba Gooding Jr. and I thought I did until a couple years ago when these videos came out. Very hilarious stuff. This is basically Cuba Gooding Jr. likes to have his fun, guys. Don't think he don't. Cuba Gooding Jr. likes to have his fun. We'll go here to one of my favorite Cuba Gooding Jr. videos. This is from maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is him having fun.
In honor of International Women's Day, TMZ presents Glass Ceiling Smash Ceiling. Check out Cuba Gooding Jr.
It is from
sexily
2016,
stripping.
4 years ago.
Okay, that wasn't quite as sexy as promised. Anyway, Cuba!
He was at Live nightclub. He is out of control. And he's getting down in the club by himself. But then he grabs this girl that's on the ground and he starts picking her up.
So here we go. This was my first inclination that Cuba Gooding Jr. was a party fucking animal. Picks this girl up off the ground like this. Like I said, this is right after I think OJ, the OJ versus the World or whatever that last docuseries he was in that was very successful. I guess was feeling himself. Started going to the clubs, the bars, a lot around this time frame, and a lot of I guess what they would call uh, be real is from this point in time. A lot of the of what you can see of Cuba Gooding Jr., of what you know of his personality, comes from this point in time. Because before that, I didn't know Cuba Gooding Jr. I didn't know Cuba Gooding Jr. the actor. I didn't know him the person. So before this, I had no idea who he was. When I found out about this, I was like, "Damn, Cuba Gooding's actually a cool dude."
It was going to end very badly
he's a
if he held
regular
this girl up any longer.
And he was performing magic, because he made a cell phone disappear.
And this is just weird right here. He basically just eats somebody's cell phone.
He
So
puts
drunk.
a cell phone, a random person's cell phone, in his mouth.
Wow, just wow. Only one word to describe that.
Oh, that's the most disgusting thing ever.
A lot of people put really things in their mouth that
Penises? Penises are way cleaner than cell phones.
Okay, on that note, we're gonna go to the next video here of Cuba Gooding acting a fool. This is him after the Golden Globes, maybe a few years ago, and I'm not even gonna play a lot of these videos.
Hey, what do you think about Sly Stallone winning a Golden Globe?
Who?
Sly Stallone.
This is from 2016 as well.
I just heard about that. Creed was great.
That was pretty good, right? Creed, you watched, you saw it.
I did.
But it's not as good as American Justice, right?
Which one of you motherfuckers am I over? Who? He goes, Philip? Do I look like a Philip?
I know you were big on Sly Stallone when he came out. A lot of people are getting angry because he didn't thank his black director and his black co-star. Should people be angry at Sly?
I got a bunch of people with me.
All right, man. Have a good one.
That's not my car.
That is your car. No, that's not your car.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That is my car. But there's so many people. See, this is what happens when you get famous. People just like pile into your shit.
Yeah, Cuba Gooding is white boy wasted, y'all.
You're supposed to help yourself. Nobody asked you. But thank you. I am very happy that Sylvester Stallone won. But if he had a bout of Alzheimer's because he forgot to thank people, you know, it's an awards show.
Yeah.
It's more about the movie. The movie was great.
It is.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, what are you gonna say?
I love black people.
Later.
Not somebody with the white people.
At least he loves black people. At least you can say that. He said it out of his own mouth. You can't say that he did not say that. Okay, that does it for my Cuba Gooding Jr. segment today. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I just wanted to bring that to you today. I thought it was really interesting. I know I'm a couple days late on it, but I wanted to get all the details first before I brought it to YouTube. I think we did that, so I'm very proud of that. Now moving right along, back into another one of my favorite topics, Jesse Lee Peterson. I'm going to be covering him a lot more on this show. Because the shit that he says and does, boy, I tell you. For those of you who are not aware of who Jesse Lee Peterson is. Jesse Lee Peterson is a black man from Alabama. He's in his 60s, maybe even 70s. He's lived through Jim Crow. He's lived through segregation. He's lived through desegregation. He's lived through the Civil Rights Act. He's lived through all of these things. And Jesse Lee Peterson's thinks that black people were better off during Jim Crow, during segregation, during Code Noir than they are now. He feels that they married more, that they stuck to they owned businesses more, that they patroned their own businesses and married their own kind more, that there was more of a sense of community, that children were not born out of wedlock, which may all be very true statements. I don't have a census book, here from the 1910s for Black America to tell you if that's true or not. But what I do have is common sense. And I can tell you that black people were not better under Jim Crow. Now, I do have mixed opinions about segregation and desegregation. And being somewhat of a Pan-Africanist, I kind of understand why somebody would want to segregate. So I kind of do understand where he comes from there, but the rest of his philosophy is completely whitewashed and infuriating. Like he believes in a thing called White History Month. July is White History Month. He says, don't it just feel white? Barbecues and hot dogs and steaks and 4th of July, just white and right. He's that kind of guy, that infuriating black guy. But he has points that must be listened to because he feels this way. And if a person feels this way, it's not our right to judge them. It's not our place to judge them. It's not our place to tell them they're wrong. It's our place to listen, and we might learn, and vice versa. You know what I mean? We can all learn from each other. That's the reason I like to watch him because I do learn from Jesse Lee. And hopefully, if we ever do have a chance to have a conversation, I'm thinking about calling into his show. He'll learn something from me as well. But let's go ahead and let you listen to him and Roy Moore. For those of you who don't know who Roy Moore is, in the state of Alabama, Roy Moore was a Supreme Court justice for the last maybe 10, 15 years until he got told he couldn't do that anymore. I mean, he's basically a racist on the seat, on the Supreme Court justice seat. Um, he has views that are antithetical to anything that has anything to do with being a human being in 2019. His views on abortion, American exceptionalism, the birther movement, church and state, civil rights, Confederacy, education, evolution, free speech, trade, immigration, LGBT, divine retribution, opposition to Islam, Vladimir Putin, and Russian interference. With political positions like these, with these just being the titles of the political positions that he holds, you can just imagine the type of man that Roy Moore is. I first heard of Roy Moore when I was a young boy, and he was the Supreme Court justice here in Alabama, and he refused to take down the Ten Commandments out of the federal building there, even though separation of church and state clearly demands as such. He did not want to take down the Ten Commandments because he said it was his courtroom, and he felt a duty to God to make sure that these things were displayed. Well, he was kicked out of office, and those Ten Commandments were taken down like they were supposed to have been. Now, he later did regain his office. He was voted back in, but he tried to put the Ten Commandments right back in, and they voted him out again. He also tried to make sure that gay people in Alabama could not get married. He sat down with the probate judges in Alabama and told them, do not sign gay marriage licenses. Like a federal judge actually told people that. Like a Supreme Court judge actually told people that here in Alabama. Like it was he was again removed from his seat, and they tried to charge him, but I mean it's very hard to try a former or sitting Supreme Court anything. Now knowing a little bit of who Roy Moore is in that regard, now we would find out about Roy Moore's sexual misconduct allegations. Roy Moore is a child predator. Roy Moore, it's been confirmed here in the state of Alabama. Like you can go to the malls here, and there are people who worked at these malls when Roy Moore was in his 30s and in early 20s, who would say that they had to secure malls and different places where young girls were known to hang out because Roy Moore would be hanging out there. Roy Moore would be hanging out there in his car with candy or an apple or something, trying to lure the young girls in. Now, this is all allegedly, but I believe it 100% to be true. People have even gone on CNN saying this. Why would you say this unless you know it to be true? Now, Roy Moore has filed lawsuits against those alleging these things. But come on. Once you really read into and find out who Roy Moore is, and these allegations start coming up, and these people start stepping forward, the women, actually, when he was running for governor here in Alabama last year before last, 6, 7 of these women actually came forward. Now he's running for the Senate seat. Now the one that Doug Jones has now, the Democratic senator from Alabama. He was running on the Republican side for that same seat. And these women actually came forward. Like these women that are now in their 50s and 60s who would have been at the time, 12, 13, 14. They were coming forward with their stories. Here's one of them now. Beverly Young said that in December 1977 or January 1978, when she was 16, Roy Moore sexually assaulted her. She said she fought him off, and he eventually gave up, telling her, "You're just a child. I'm the district attorney. If you tell anyone about this, no one will ever believe you." Moore denied Nelson's allegations that he even knew her at all. One of the three women who accused him of sexual assault, Lee Korfman, said that Moore sexually assaulted her in 1979 when she was 14 and he was 32. Moore denied knowing her or having contact with Korfman, although her mother confirmed the meeting. Tina Johnson alleged that when she was 28 in 1991, she had visited Moore in his law office for a legal matter. She said Moore flirted with her, asking questions about her young daughter, and grabbed her buttocks as she left. Now, these are all allegations. These are all allegations. I have to say that. I have to say that these are all sexual misconduct allegations. He has never been convicted of any of these crimes. But I would not doubt it one bit. I would not doubt it one bit. Now, that's all I'm going to say about Roy Moore and Jesse Lee Peterson. That they would have a conversation does not surprise me. But it does surprise me coming on the heels of Jesse Lee Peterson's and DC Young Fly's interview that they did recently, which I was going to cover, but it was covered by so many people on YouTube, I said I'll just leave it alone. DC Young Fly and Jesse Lee Peterson had a real heart-to-heart, a really good heart-to-heart interview. And I've seen Jesse like come at comedians and actors before, and really, these actors get so upset and they don't have anywhere to go because Jesse is being so racist and so vile, that they hear this coming out of a black man's mouth. They just get upset, and a lot of them leave. A lot of them, start yelling. DC handled this man with so much class, with so much. I was so in awe of how DC handled this man who's been in show business for 30 plus years. And really kind of humbled Jesse Lee Peterson. And like I said, I expected to see a change in him after that interview. And like I said, we will touch on that again one day if you guys want to. Just leave me a comment, and we will definitely get on that. But I'm just going to go ahead and play this video now. And after this video, I'm going to get out of here, so you guys check it out. If you want me to comment on it or you have anything, you just like, hey, stop the video. I need to talk about this. Let me know, and we will do exactly that.
Utmost respect for, and I've had for a long time. I have met him. My producer, James, and I went down to Alabama, and we sat with my guests, and we talked for a while. He treated us well, introduced us to all the employees. It was mind-blowing. I have with me former Alabama Chief Justice Roy Moore. He's back. He's been on this show before. And the thing about Judge Moore is that he doesn't back down. He loves what's right. He loves God. And he's an example for us of what we all should become. Stand up, fight back. Don't give in to evil. And I wanted to talk to the judge for a few minutes just to see how he's doing and what's going on and how can we help him. Judge Moore, welcome to the show again. Thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you, Jesse. It's nice to hear from you again and be with you again.
Yes, sir. I have been keeping up with you. I supported your campaign when you ran for Senate, and I've known you and of you and known you for a while now. The thing I admire about you is that you don't back down. Tell the folks, what is it about you that will not allow you to give in or give up with evil? You stand up for what is right. What is it about you?
That's a hard question to answer, Jesse. I don't know. It's the way I was brought up. It's the way I believe. I think you've got to stand for what you believe in, and what you know is the truth. Truth is always going to prevail, and when you know the truth, you got to stand for it. And if you can't stand for the truth, then you can't stand for anything, basically.
That's right. Absolutely.
I can't say anything other than that. The way I brought up and the way I believe.
You ran for Senate, and all hell broke loose. They falsely accused. they falsely accused you, they came after you, they did this and that, and you stood strong through that. How are you doing now, and what are you doing now?
Well, I'm still standing, and they're still fighting. One of the largest law firms in the country, the Covington Burling law firm out of San Francisco and Silicon Valley out west in New York, Washington, D.C., is basically loaded with millions of dollars, and they're still putting me through a trial here. We've sued people that falsely accused me in one court, and then one got detracted off to another venue, and now we're fighting that battle. And so we've been fighting continuously. I've got a defense fund, Judge Roy Moore Defense Fund. You can go to roymore.org and find it. And we have to keep fighting against these very wealthy law firms. They're trying to continue this process so that I don't run again or do anything in politics.
I absolutely agree. I want you to give out that website again, because I'm aware of that, and I will continue to support it, because one thing I've come to realize, Judge Moore, is that the men and women of good got to stand together as those of evil do. The people on the side of evil, they don't agree with everything that they do, but they stand together to go against good. And I've noticed that it's starting to change a little bit now, but I noticed that the people on the side of right, if they disagree with one little thing or believe in some lie, they won't stand together to fight evil. I want them to start doing that, and you absolutely need support in
Alabama has stood very back in the 1700s. The fact that the Supreme Court in 72 just made up this rule, and one of the justices, Blackman, I believe it was, who was on the court, said that if we ever define the fetus as a person, then the whole thing falls apart. Well, that's what we've been trying to do for years, because that's what they did at the beginning. I mean,
Okay. He's getting into a debate there that I really don't want to touch right now. I just really wanted to touch the first couple minutes of this. We will jump back on it a little bit later on in the day. He's touching on abortion right now. And like I said, this is a topic that I have spoken on in the past, and I've gotten chewed up. Like, you don't have a pussy, you don't push out babies, so you got no right to talk about abortion or anything like that. Hey, I get it. I understand, your opinion, that I should not have an opinion. But that's the thing about opinions. We all have opinions, and I have the right to have an opinion. I reserve the right to tell what my opinion is right now. If you've been watching the show, you probably already know a little bit of how I feel about these topics, but I'm not going to touch it right now with a 40-foot pole. I think the hype around it right now is too much. There's too much drama. There's too much sensitivity. There's a lot of people that could be easily hurt by this conversation or this debate. So we have to be careful. We have to be sensitive to how people feel. We have to be cognizant that everybody is not going to have the same opinions and beliefs as we do. So be prepared for dissonance. Be prepared for debate. With that being said, I'm going to get out of here this morning. Didn't want this video to be that long even. Just wanted to touch on this couple of things and show you how crazy things are getting out here right now, man. We got, on one hand, Cuba Gooding Jr. groping it up, allegedly, from what it looks like. And we got Jesse Lee Peterson here, a black man from Alabama, siding with a known racist and pedophile. What can we do? What can we do, America? What can we do, black people? What can we do, white people? You know, because I know black people aren't the only people who watch this show. Um, so let me know if you got a solution, if you got a question, if you got an answer. Leave it in the comments below. Until next time, it's Black Mirror signing out.